Well, Joe Rogan evidently loves Bud Light. And I mean, it's gotten to be like every podcast at this point. I was listening to the Post Malone one. Very good. But even on there, Rogan, they get out a Bud Light and Rogan starts talking about it. He's done this several different times. He's like, it's ridiculous. People got to get over it. Whatever. It was just some lady in marketing making a mistake. And you could tell Post Malone really wanted to move the conversation along, and he immediately diverted the topic and completely changed it. And people are wondering what's going on here. Joe Rogan, obviously he considers himself kind of somewhere in the middle. A lot of people on the left think Rogan is more right-wing. And to be honest, I do understand what they're saying. There are a lot of podcasts where he seems to be more right, but it is a thing where this guy supported Bernie Sanders back in 2015. He's voted for the Green Party in 2016 and 2020. I think a lot of that has to do with, best for business, playing both sides. If you go super MAGA or full-on Republican, that's going to turn some people off. There's no real sense in doing that and losing potential listeners. But just if number one, I do think Bud Light is paying Rogan to do this, because when you watch these interviews, it doesn't seem very organic. You can even see it on YouTube clips where it's not even like, oh, we're drinking Bud Light, whatever. It's, oh, come on, guys, get over it. Someone just made a mistake. The lady just made a mistake. Of course, that's not what happened here with this Bud Light thing. The reason they did the partnership with Dylan Mulvaney was 1000% ESG related. And how I know that, if you look on the ESG scores under the social category, it literally says you can get bonus points for ESG if you do a deal with some type of social activist, and Dylan Mulvaney would certainly qualify for that. So they were trying to, do the whole ESG thing, raise their score, and they got their hand caught in the ESG cookie jar. And then Rogan characterizes the whole Bud Light thing. Let me just say, first and foremost, I've never had, well, maybe I've had one Bud Light, one or two Bud Lights at a baseball game. That's about it, though. I don't drink Bud Light. But even as someone who's coming at this completely independent, listen, if you took a survey of Bud Light drinkers in the year 2022 and you asked them, are you Republican or Democrat? I'm guessing a good 70 to 80% of them would say they're Republican. So this is a conservative base, and your Bud Light, you know that, and you end up partnering with someone that a lot of conservatives don't like and giving them money and rewarding them for what they're doing. And the Dylan Mulvaney thing, a lot of conservatives don't like that. So they say, do you think we're stupid? We're the ones that are buying your crap. Your stuff is very replaceable. We can get another beer for the same price that probably tastes better than Bud Light. So we're just going to do that. We're not going to keep promoting your stuff because we don't believe in who you're sponsoring and who you're giving our money to, because we're paying for this entire thing. So they said, we're just going to boycott it. You can boycott it. Listen, if you're a company and you piss off 70 to 80% of your customers, they're going to boycott. Like, this is not a hard thing to really understand. And it's not like, oh, it's some lady. Yeah, that lady probably is really woke. It's probably the fall person. This is more so an ESG thing, in my opinion. And Rogan comes out multiple times with Bud Lights. He's drinking them. He's telling people, listen, I think Bud Light paid Rogan under the table. I don't know why Rogan would do it. Do you really need the money? You're getting paid $50-60 million a year. I mean, Rogan is gotten to the point where he left California mainly because of the tax situation. He was probably getting, with that state income tax, probably losing an extra 10, 12, 15 million. I don't know what his financial situation is, but it gets to the point where it gets so bad. That's how you know people get really rich, when they start moving to states that don't have a income tax. And that's what Rogan did. So Bud Light, it makes sense if you are them. Your brand is failing, right? There's no coming back. Why not tell Joe Rogan, who's seen as kind of this cool, conservative, hip guy, and a lot of people on the right really like him right now. He's got a massive podcast, a lot of people kissing up to him. Why not tell him, pay him under the table, be like, hey, can you just tell people to get off of this? This could also be Rogan trying to, be level-headed. He is, I do think Rogan is more right-wing at this point in his life. but I'm sure he would say, I'm more of a liberal, whatever. I mean, we do this thing with these creators where they say they're independent, they say they're left-wing, right-wing, they say whatever they want to try and appear more impartial because being impartial is best for business. I get it. But in general, just kind of a weird situation with Bud Light, and it really is a misrepresentation. Listen, this is Bud Light's fault. If you have a consumer base that, 70 to 80% of them don't like this thing, why would you do a sponsorship with them? And they don't want to admit it, but the reason they did is because they thought they could get away with it. It was an ESG thing, 1000%. And if for whatever reason it was not ESG related, then it was the dumbest thing imaginable. Because if your strategy seriously was trying to appeal to the Dylan Mulvaney type people, I got news for you. They already weren't going to drink your beer. Whether you did a sponsorship with Dylan Mulvaney or not, those people ain't drinking Bud Light. Let me just tell you that. So that's why the whole thing made no sense anyways. And it was totally ESG related. And now Bud Light comes out and says and tells Rogan, listen, we'll give you a few $1 million, just got to promote it on your show. Maybe drink a Bud Light with Post Malone, crack it open, say people are crazy, just get over it. But of course, at this point, look, you can say the Bud Light thing is ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. It really is. I mean, it's actually worked, believe it or not, where people now, it's more like a pride thing. They don't want to drink it. And of course, the reason this is working is because it's not 50% Democrats, 50% Republicans that were drinking Bud Light in the first place. It was mainly a right-wing beer, like most beers. And if the right wing is protesting it, that's going to kill the beer. It is what it is. So that is that situation. And then we do have the Republican updates regarding what's going on with the primary. And it looks like, I said yesterday, Trump's probably not debating and he's not going to sign the thing you need to sign to possibly be in the Republican debate. At this point, it is remarkable how badly DeSantis has fallen. His whole camp is in complete panic mode at this point. And I do want to quickly make my announcement. I am fully ready to endorse Chris Christie for president, and I wanted to commemorate this moment. You can see on Chris Christie's page, there's an option there for $3,300. And folks, let me just say, when I saw my last YouTube paycheck, you want to know how much it was? It was $3,300 exactly. So I just said, listen, I'm taking my full YouTube checks. I'm donating it to Chris Christie. He is the only true conservative in this race. Even if it just gives him more fuel, maybe he can get a bunch of donuts or something. Guys, I'm kidding. But I did see that. Chris Christie is not even running to win. But I guess a lot of these candidates aren't running to win. What is Mike Pence running for exactly? Like, is Mike Pence hoping for a Hail Mary that something happens to where Trump literally gets house arrest or in prison and the Republican establishment declares him ineligible? But even if that happens, nobody would vote for Pence. They would just go to Ramaswamy or DeSantis. So some of these people, it's like you can understand Tim Scott probably running for vice president, but I do think he's going to make some noise as kind of an alternate to Trump. Nikki Haley running for vice president 1000%. Everyone thinks Trump's probably going to pick, on the ticket, a female to balance it. And maybe Nikki Haley can prove her worth during the debates, make a name for herself. That's understandable. But with Chris Christie, man, it's such a waste of time. And him coming to the Republican debate, I was looking forward to it if Trump was going to be there, but it looks like Trump's not going to be there, and it's going to end up being a giant waste. So guys, that is the update there, but that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.